coming in and out of Busan, both foreign travelers and locals. They are going abroad, and this is on the rise. But even as demand skyrockets, flights have remained more or less the same, with Kim International Airport only taking about 10% of all international flights out of South Korea. This is not only inconvenient for travelers, but it could take an economic toll as it ties businesses down to a handful of destinations and markets. So we're expected to see an increase this coming winter, but this increase will have to be significant if Busan were to live up to the title of a true global hub city. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Thursday, October 24th on BEFM, 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I like Thursdays. I don't know about you, because that gets us one day closer to our favorite day, Friday. And it's been really, well, it is really cold this morning. We'll get the specifics out to you in a bit, but just giving you a heads up, it's chilly today. Well, Busan. We know Busan is definitely a global city and trying to become the global hub city, which entails a whole list of support and deregulation. But a key part of this globalness is all about people freely going in, going out of the country via our airport and ports. Kimhae is supposedly the second biggest airport in the country and the second gateway airport, in theory. However, despite this reputation, Kimhae may not be living up to this whole international part of its resume. And the reason I say this is because Kimhae only had 10% of international flights assigned to it out of the entire country, just 10%. This is according to the Korea Airport Corporation data released by a Democratic Party or DP lawmaker, Min Hong-chol. So of the top three airports, we're talking about Incheon, Kimhae, because we're second. So Incheon, Kimhae, and then Gimpo. Incheon was in charge of nearly 85% of all flights. And Gimpo coming at 4.7. So this means that almost 90% of all international flights congregated in and out of the capital area. With Kimhae, our local airport, only overseeing 10%. So this figure is low even compared to other countries' so-called second largest airport. Japan, for example, had 57% of its international flights going out of Narita, and also 42% out of Kansai. So I think this speaks once again to the issue of this whole idea of balanced development. So hopefully we'll be able to see these figures go up as flights are reshuffled. Let's see what happens this upcoming winter season. Are you ready now for our text topic? Okay, here we go. If you could turn into a non-human creature, I'll rephrase that. If you had to, I'm giving you no choice. If you had to turn into a non-human creature, aka an animal or plant, what would it be? Where? Why? We want the logistics, the details of this. 자, 여러분이 지금 당장 인간이 아닌 동물이나 식물로 바뀐다면, 어디에 있는 어떤 생명체로 태어나고 싶은지. That is our text topic for today. Oh, so interesting. So let's get the creative juices flowing. Let me know what you're thinking. You can send in your messages to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. So go to YouTube and you can type in BEFM or 부산영어방송 and you'll see our little channel and press subscribe, log in and chat away with our other waivers. And for your phone, pound 9050 샵 9050, that's going to cost you 100 won. You can reach me for free, though, through our Kakao Talk channel. And it's free. And those messages come to me and I read them, and you can even send your photos or whatever you like. And the way you can listen to us, so many different ways these days. On the radio, 90.5, 103.3 FM. That's if you're in the Busan area. If you are not living in Busan, many of our waivers simply don't live here. Well, like I said, live streaming in YouTube. You can watch again on that platform. We have two apps as well. The BEFM app itself, and we're available on the Patbang app too. So looking ahead to our Thursday morning together. So who do we have coming in? We have Chris for Beyond the Headlines. We also have Hyeon for City Insights. For our special interview, I'm smiling already just thinking about it. The topic today, Panda Diplomacy. Yes, you heard me correctly. And this is not just regarding China and South Korea. China has its pandas, as we well know, sends them to different countries around the world. So we're going to focus on this diplomacy. Does it help? Especially when tensions between countries may kind of be going up. We're going to find out in hour number 2. And so I was thinking, I'm going to go first real quick to give you an example of this whole, animal or plant. For example, you could choose to be a beautiful tree in the Amazon forest. Just the thought of that kind of makes my heart swell, because we know like the Amazon forest, we call it kind of the lungs of that part of the world. That's just one really abstract example. Anyhow, I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:07. These are today's headlines. South Korean intelligence says North sent 3,000 soldiers to Russia. The National Intelligence Service, or NIS, disclosed that it believes about 3,000 North Korean soldiers have been sent to Russia to aid in its war in Ukraine, as Russia issued a warning to South Korea. Yoon to appoint special inspector upon recommendation from rival parties. President Yoon Suk-yeol will appoint a special inspector to address concerns over First Lady Kim Gun-hee if the ruling and opposition parties can recommend a candidate. Number of newborns in August up by 6% on year. The number of babies born in South Korea increased on year for the second consecutive month in August, as the number of weddings also showed one of the highest increases for the same month. Ruling party and government push to stabilize Napa cabbage prices ahead of Kimjang season. The ruling People Power Party, PPP, and the government agreed to establish measures to stabilize the price of Napa cabbages, radishes, and other kimchi ingredients. Kamala Harris says Trump wants unchecked power as campaign heats up. Democratic candidate Kamala Harris has denounced Republican candidate Donald Trump as a fascist who wants unchecked power following allegations from Trump's former chief of staff. And these are today's headlines. It's time to say hello to Haley for Busan Updates. Good morning.
Good morning.
So today's, I think, text topic is so fun.
Oh, thank you.
So today we're talking about if you had to choose to be a non-human creature, something living but not human, what would it be?
I want to be a bear in a U.S. national park, preferably Yellowstone, but I'll take something else too.
Oh, and
I have reasons. I have reasons, and I've thought long and hard about this, not just from yesterday, but I want to be an apex predator, so I want to be at the top of the food chain.
Okay.
But not so, like, quote unquote, in demand that I would be trophy hunted because humans are terrible. Like big cats. Like, I mean, I would love to be a lion, but poor lions and terrible humans. And then in terms of geography, like where I want to live, it's like real estate, location. Because with your, not to, put down your example. Would love to be a tree in the Amazon, but you know what's an issue there? Deforestation.
The logging
so
going on.
I have to be in a very protected part of the world. And, diet-wise, like, I like salmon. They're omnivores. I could, and they hibernate, which sounds nice.
Okay,
sounds
ask me,
real
ask
nice.
me.
Okay, yeah, because she had an epiphany just now.
Just now.
What do you want to be?
I was inspired by our special interview.
Oh.
I would love to be a panda. Let me explain why.
Okay.
First of all, pandas are beloved, are they not? Who doesn't like pandas? Number two, I would want to be in Korea, a panda at that particular venue.
With Kang Bao and Song
There's
Bao
a
as your
reason.
caretakers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they would assign me a really good caretaker. And thirdly, I want all you can eat bamboo and all the other treats. I've seen the videos.
Yeah,
They're treated
apples and
I know they're in captivity, but relatively speaking,
Right.
treated really, really well. And then fourth, I see all the comments people make on the video saying like, they would never survive in the wild.
They wouldn't.
Because their behavior.
They're not equipped.
That's me.
Actually, that's what I told my producer because my producer was like, "Why not like the wilderness?" And I like legit told her, "제가 곱게 자라서 야생에는." It's like I was too sheltered. Like even as a human, I just can't.
I'm happy being in that
Picasso's
enclosure.
panda out there.
Yes. Well, for our first Busan update, we're going to talk about Bugyong National University because the president of that university, his term has come to an end. But this also coincides with, the timing of it. It's a very precarious time with the university and its future.
Right. So President Chang Young-soo of Bugyong National University, PKNU, his term ended last week. So they have now entered into this guidance of an acting president. So the university did name its nominations to the Education Ministry last September, but the process has been stalled for about a month or two.
Okay.
And the thing is, this is what happened several years ago before Chang became the president with his predecessor. The school was under an acting president for about 50 days because of these administrative delays. And the reason for this is actually, it has to do with this particular president stepping down. So PKNU, along with many, many universities locally and nationwide, apply for the education ministries, the local university program.
Right.
Huge injection of funding. So they didn't make it in part one nor part two. The school is going to try again for phase 3. So this is why the former president stepped down. But of course, that also means you need a leader at the helm to guide this process through.
Yes.
And then not only that, there are other issues of university like federal grants or national grants, early admissions in the next academic year to prepare for, all of which you need a leader.
Yes.
So the acting president, Lee Min-hee, said the school will do its best to minimize the vacancy at the top office, but of course you do need that approval from the education ministry.
That's true. So hopefully they get their affairs in order. And the next story may be upsetting for animal lovers. A large illegal dog breeding site was found in Gangseogu. And so now animal protection groups, they are criticizing the administrative authorities.
Right. So this is an upsetting story, but thankfully it has ended. But there was this large illegal breeding site, so 불법 번식장 for dogs in Gangseogu that was recently busted. And the local animal protection group, they rescued some 600 dogs living in these cramped quarters. And apparently the owners are forcing about a dozen purebred dogs to breed with the female dogs. And the group said that the breeding site has been in operation for the last 25 years and engaging in illegal breeding, surgeries, and even culling, so killing the dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So how could this have been going on for so long?
Right. So it seems that the authorities weren't unaware of at least the existence of the physical site. The district office did find the facility for illegal construction. However, it seems they didn't know at least about the illegal breeding part that was going on. And the head of another animal rights group said that the authorities usually just depend on private animal rights groups to inspect, to figure out what's going on, the rescue. However, they called on public authorities to actually step in to crack down against these illegal breeding and animal production, distribution, and sales.
Yes. Well, once again, the good news, it's been shut down.
Right.
Right. Better late than never, as they say. Well, next up, you may have noticed on the calendar, 31st of October. It's coming up. Halloween is on the calendar. But this has raised some safety concerns, as always, regarding crowd control and street safety.
Right. So a lot of people do celebrate it. Many adults go out to party, but we all unfortunately know how crowded these dangerous alleyways can be on a holiday like Halloween. So local district offices, the police, and the fire authorities have conducted a joint inspection of the greater Seomyeon area ahead of that holiday.
Right.
So the authorities found a lot of things that could be problematic, not just on Halloween, but anytime. For example, just things that could be fire hazards in terms of like crowding the streets, like barrels of empty oil containers on the alleys behind. I mean, we've definitely seen that on the alleys behind restaurants, broken furniture and boxes of like empty beverage bottles.
Yes.
So, and then there are also cars turning into these smaller streets in Seomyeon, which the police said, I mean, it's problematic for pedestrians anytime, but could be chaotic if these streets are crowded with people. So the police handed out flyers to local businesses, informing them that their street signs and the standing signs and anything else that's littering the streets could be dangerous. Also, for the general public, the authorities advise people, number one, of course, for their own safety, not to get over intoxicated. And also, if you see that some streets are extremely crowded, detour around.
Sure.
And this is an important tip. If you are getting pushed, if you feel yourself getting pushed in a crowd, don't fight it, but just actually go in the flow of that push. So just kind of go with the flow in kind of a diagonal direction if you can. Use your arms, or if you have a bag, put that in front of you over your chest to give your chest breathing room so you don't get crushed. And then if you drop something, don't immediately stop and bend down to pick it up, because that can definitely congest traffic and you can fall down.
Yes. So those are really good reminders of just how dangerous it can be. All right. Lastly, the 2-month-long Busan Biennale just wrapped up.
Right, and it was quite a success. The 2024 Busan Biennale wrapped up its 65-day run.
Yes.
And according to the organizing committee, a total of 136,000 people visited the exhibitions. So this year's theme was Seeing in the Dark, and it was held partially at the Modern and Contemporary Art Museum of Busan, the Contemporary History Museum, and the venue Hansong 1918. And it was applauded by critics and visitors for its innovative use of the theme of darkness.
Yes.
And showing challenges against capitalism, remnants of colonialism, and desire for democracy, not only from here in South Korea, but also reflecting diverse voices from Palestine, Iran, Senegal, Jamaica, and much more.
Well, I'm so glad it was a success. For those of you who enjoyed it, we're going to have to wait another 2 years. Well, thank you, Haley, for the updates. And now it's back to you, the listeners. So if you could, or if you had to, I'm giving you no choice. If you had to turn into a non-human creature, animal, or plant, what would it be and where? And one answer really jumped out at me. I'm going to read it right now. By Again Waver, 저는 예쁜 돌이 될래요. 예쁜 돌? Why? I'm curious. If you're still here, let us know the why. I want to know why you want to be a pretty stone or rock, and where. Like in someone's yard, where do you want to be that 돌? And here is your traffic and weather. It is now 7:19. Here's your traffic report. It is looking slow on Luno Samsungdaedo from Byungji Underpass to Shinho Bridge. Also backed up on the Dongso Overpass from Hwangnyeom Ramp to the Old Kegum Tollgate. As for the weather, it's currently 9 degrees Celsius, so single digit. Clear skies this morning as the morning low has plunged once again down a lot. Afternoon high is expected to go up to 23, so you can just hear 9 all the way up to 23. That's a big temperature difference. It is chilly across the country with some mountainous areas reporting frost and even some icy roads in parts of Gangwon. Please be careful out there, and you're going to have to wear layers and even maybe bundle up today. This was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for News Digest. And Haley's with us. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court yesterday, which held its first open hearing of the right to access for people with disabilities. This is an important topic that does not often get addressed. So we're going to delve into this issue.
Right. So a couple of years back, we had this series of protests and sit-ins by rights groups on subways and public transportation. Yes. But let's actually widen that scope. A group of citizens filed a lawsuit way back in 2018 against the government and GS Retail, which is the parent company of the convenience store GS25 chains. So they were saying that their rights to access to these stores are being unfairly limited and therefore discriminated against.
Yes. So there's actually a reason that convenience stores were specifically named in this lawsuit, correct?
Right. So under the law in South Korea, stores that are larger than 50 square meters, which is about 15평 in floor space, they must have ramps, or if not, then bells at the door or the entrance for people with disabilities to get help in.
Okay.
And this is actually an improvement from the previous law that said only stores that are huge, 300 square meters or 90평, are required to have ramps or bells, which, what convenience store is, really.
Yes.
But the thing is, still a lot of convenience stores are under 50 square meters in size, and therefore are still not legally required to have ramps installed. And, in Korea, if you think about it, convenience stores are basically our corner stores, and they are located nearly on every corner, on blocks, so it is a major part of life. So, thus, the discrimination lawsuit against GS Retail, one of the largest retailers for convenience stores.
Yes.
And then, why is the government named in the lawsuit? Well, it took 3 years for this law to be revised down from 300 square meters to 50 square meters. And this is why the plaintiffs have filed a case against the government, saying that this delay in the revision caused harm or damages to people who have mobility problems.
Sure.
Also, in consideration of the economic difficulties for small businesses, the law wasn't retroactively applied to the convenience stores. So that also means convenience stores built before the law, they didn't have to install ramps. So this means there are 17,000 facilities that are required to have these access ramps or systems in place, but actually only 5,700 of them, that's under a third, have the barrier-free certification. And in Korean, that's 장애물 없는 생활 환경 인증.
I see. So that is why, once again, the lawsuit has been brought. And, that is often the argument that accompanies these facilities with people with mobility issues because, they come with a higher cost for businesses.
Right, of course. And, we're not to fault small businesses for not proactively going out and installing ramps because that is money.
Yes.
So this is a problem with individual businesses. And then, of course, there are also systematic infrastructural issues. If your convenience store sits right on the edge of a sidewalk, there's literally no room. You're not going to install a ramp that goes directly onto the street where cars are zooming by. So this speaks to the larger infrastructure, not only for people in a wheelchair, for example, but pedestrians as well. But in any case, when it comes to the larger cost and benefit analysis for society at large, these accessible systems actually do have much higher benefits than their cost. So this is according to a health ministry report. When you require all convenience facilities to install ramps and other accessible systems, it will collectively, in terms of the physical cost 70.9 billion won, which is a big price tag.
Yes.
However, in terms of the benefits we may reap, 3.8 trillion won. And that's by increasing access and mobility, not only people in wheelchairs, but the ramps benefit people who are pushing strollers.
That's true.
Traveling with suitcases, workers using carts and wagons, or just people with like knee problems because ramps are easier on the joints than stairs.
Yes.
So, by the way, the ruling itself from the Supreme Court will take about 2 to 4 months, so I will try to keep you updated of that.
Right, and what if, the result of the case we'll find out, but I mean, if it needs to be implemented, some new rules, let's hope they do it quickly.
I mean, you sprain your ankle once and you realize how like not access friendly a lot of the spaces are.
That's so true. All right, next, we so often talk about the financial stability and balance of the national health insurance, the system itself. However, it seems that the government owes the healthcare trillions of won.
By the way, the government owns the healthcare as well, but it also owes it money. It's a very unfortunate rhyme.
Yes.
The government is legally supposed to give money from its treasury, the 국고지원금, to make sure that the health insurance fund is running smoothly.
Yes.
However, according to the National Health Insurance Corporation, the government is overdue 21.6 trillion won in these payments over the period of 18 years.
Ooh.
So under the law, the government is supposed to pay into the fund 20% of the fund's projected revenue for that year.
Right.
Excuse me. And 14% of that is to come from the national treasury and 6% from the tobacco taxes, cigarette taxes.
Okay.
But out of the 149.7 trillion won that it's supposed to pay, it's only given 128.3 trillion won, thus leaving a balance of 21.5 trillion still overdue. And by the way, this has happened every single year. No administration has paid the full amount. And they kind of do that by like bypassing the system. They underestimate the revenue. So it seems like they've paid everything that they're supposed to, but
they haven't.
The bill is not the size that it was supposed to. So experts actually call for a higher proportion of this funding because once again, with the working group, the demographic declining, with aging, lower birth rate, I mean, the national health insurance, the health of the national health insurance is really crucial.
Yes, indeed. For now, we're going to leave that story there. We're going to go to some international news. Russian President Vladimir Putin, he is in the middle of, the BRICS summit. Some call it his BRICS summit. This is definitely a step away from the whole Western world order, right?
Right. So, or is trying to. So President Vladimir Putin is facing isolation from one side of the world, and he's really trying to break free of that by building a stronger bond with the rest, with the other side.
Yes.
So he has been kind of dubbed this international pariah of sorts ever since his country invaded Ukraine. Russia's under heavy sanctions, and there's actually a warrant out for him by the International Criminal Court. So his solution to this is by mobilizing those who aren't against him, aka BRICS. So this starts with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, but it's been expanded to include Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia has received an invitation as well.
Right.
So this bloc collectively account for 45% of the global population and their GDP 28% of the global economy.
Right. So that is significant. What's at the top of the agenda for this summit?
Money, particularly de-dollarization.
Oh.
So a part of easing this pressure from the West for Putin is to minimize the effects of U.S. and other UN-imposed sanctions.
Sure.
And Putin is seeking to do this by minimizing or reducing the dollar's power. So yesterday, President Putin said the dollar is being used by a weapon, and it's a big mistake to those who do this because because basically what happens is because the dollar is the global standard for trade and cross-border payments, this ties Russia's hands. So Russia's main goal is breaking this dollar dominance. So it wants BRICS countries to create an alternative trade mechanism and these cross-border payment systems that wouldn't involve the dollar or even the euro or any of the G7, aka Western currencies.
Yes.
So then it can kind of bypass the sanctions and do trade on its own, like literal dime or currency.
Yes. So what are the chances of this actually happening, though? In theory, according to Putin's agenda, it sounds all good.
Right. Depending on whom you ask, though.
Okay.
So Russia and China, they're on board. So, for example, 95% of the trade between Russia and China, it's conducted in now rubles and the yuan, their respective currencies.
Yes.
However, if you ask Brazil and India, they would be very cautious in how they word it because they don't want, their economies are rapidly expanding, but they don't want it to be solely pro-Chinese, pro-Russia, and anti-Western. They don't want to antagonize.
Yes.
But then again, if we're looking at BRICS versus like the G7, the biggest economy is the West versus the rest. However, the rest nations shouldn't get lumped into one because for one, we have China and India. They don't see eye to eye on many things. And then there are tensions between Egypt and Ethiopia. And of course, Iran and Saudi Arabia. The last time they agreed on anything was, I can't remember when.
Yes.
So to quote one expert who spoke on the issue, the idea that they're all going to fundamentally agree on something of great substance is bonkers.
Bonkers.
And that's what he said.
All right. We're going to end it on that note. Bonkers. We will check in with you in hour number 2. So thank you, Haley.
See you in a bit.
We are ready for our first song, but I want to read this message from Young real quick. Good morning, Kat. I want to be an eagle, a king in the sky, to have all the freedom flying high up. Flying is my dream, so much so that my hero is Superman. Ooh, that's a good choice. Eagle, soaring in the sky. Well, we are ready for that first song, and this is a request from Leslie, and it's been stuck in my head because it's that catchy, and to me personally, 수능 금지곡. 아파트 by Rosé and Bruno Mars.
창이가 좋아하는 랜덤 게임 랜덤 게임 게임 스타트 아파트 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 kissy face sent to your phone but I'm trying to kiss your lips for real red hearts that's what I'm on yeah come give me something I can feel. Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? See tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the 아파트 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 아파트
It's whatever you like. Turn this opposite into a club. I'm talking drink, dance, smoke, freak, party all night. Come back, girl, what's up? Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? Sleep tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the
아파트 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 Hey, so now you know the game. Are you ready? 'Cause I'm coming to get you, get you, get you. Hold on, I'm on my way. Yeah, I'm on my way. Hold on, I'm on my way. Yeah, I'm on my way.
Don't you want me like I want you, baby? Don't you need me like I need you now? Sleep tomorrow, but tonight go crazy. All you gotta do is just meet me at the
아파트 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 just meet me at the 아파트 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 아파트
just meet me at the
아파트 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 아파트
just meet me at the
아파트 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 아파트
My producer was like, you got to do the dance. No, I don't do the dance. I only dance in private, yes. So our top story today, it's about what's been happening out of Kim Airport, especially in terms of international travelers and passengers coming into Busan. Here is some good news for the local travel industry, though. Ukers, or aka the group Chinese tourists, they're coming back. And for the month of August, the number of Chinese tourists topped the list of Busan visitors. Busan City and the Busan Tourism Organization put the number of foreign tourists coming to Busan for the month of August at 275,000, with almost 19% of those tourists coming from China. And that figure is an over 200% increase from August of last year. Definitely a clear sign of recovery. That's the good news. This is the first time that this has happened since the installation. Do you remember the whole THAAD system, the missile defense system, prompting China to restrict tourism to South Korea? That was way back in March 2017. Can you believe? Time does fly. While Beijing had lifted these restrictions on mass travel to South Korea, where recovery had been slow, kind of trickling down to Busan because of limited flights and cruise ships. Once again, it all goes back to more international flights being assigned to Busan to satisfy this growing demand. And I mean, if we had more international flights directly to and from Busan, I think that would do wonders. Maybe, our waivers from abroad, they could come and visit more often. Here is our text topic, though. If you had to choose to become a non-human creature, what would it be? Where? Why? 자, 여러분이 지금 당장 인간이 아닌 동물이나 식물로 바뀐다면 어디에서 어떤 생명체로 태어나고 싶나요? And I was really surprised with the whole rock answer or stone from again, but apparently Gosu had the same idea. So he says 돌 하루방 하면 사람들이 코 만져서 귀찮긴 하겠지만 심심하지는 않을 것 같아요. So he's talking about, on Jeju Island, they have those harubang, those kind of statues, and they all kind of have the prominent, the big nose, and people are supposed to go rub it for, and so he's like, yeah, it would be kind of cumbersome, a little irritating, but at the same time, feels like he would not be lonely. So he was thinking along the same lines as again. And now we're going to get to Cat's Pick. For today's Cat's Pick, I want to focus on something. This is a story out of the United States, but it kind of had me do a double take and made me a little concerned because this is quite serious. This is regarding E. coli. There's apparently this outbreak from McDonald's Quarter Pounder burgers. Here's a clip from ABC News.
We begin tonight here with the news coming in. The CDC investigating a deadly E. coli outbreak involving McDonald's. The outbreak has been linked to Quarter Pounders. The warning from the CDC just in, one ingredient they're now looking into, the sliced onions used for those Quarter Pounders. But they have not said for sure that was the culprit. At least 49 people sickened in 10 states. At least 10 people have been hospitalized. One person has died. But the CDC says the outbreak may go beyond these states. McDonald's said in a statement late today the initial investigation linked to a single supplier that serves 3 distribution centers. For now, the company has stopped using fresh sliced onions, and they're pulling Quarter Pounders in the affected states.
Tonight, the CDC is warning of a deadly E. coli outbreak linked to the McDonald's Quarter Pounder. At least 49 people in 10 states have gotten sick between September 27th and October 11th. 10 had to be hospitalized, including a child with severe kidney complications. Colorado reporting the most cases with 27 and 1 death, reportedly an older person. E. coli is a bacteria that can cause serious illness, including fever, stomach cramps, and in severe cases, can be deadly. All of the people who got sick reported eating at McDonald's beforehand. most reporting they ate a quarter-pounder hamburger. McDonald's removing the sandwich from the menu in affected areas, saying in a statement a subset of illnesses may be linked to slivered onions used in the quarter-pounder and sourced by a single supplier that serves 3 distribution centers.
It's important to note that the majority of states and the majority of menu items are not affected. This is a temporary change as the investigation continues, and we are working quickly to return our full menu in these states as soon as possible.
McDonald's shares dropped 9% in after-hours trading after the CDC's announcement. The CDC, the FDA, and state health officials are all investigating.
So yes, E. coli, by the way, in Korean is 대장균. And this is something that can you get from unsanitized, unhygienic sources. The sliced onions, they seem to be the culprit, and they apparently come from this one company. So we're hoping, fingers crossed, that this does not spread and that it's hopefully not the patties, and we can just talk about the onions themselves. And by the way, this is in the U.S. I don't want to panic anybody anywhere, but especially those outside of that territory. So this was Cat's Pick for today.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It's time for Chris. Let's say hi to him. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. And by the way, listeners, this is for Beyond the Headlines. But I'm so curious as to what you have chosen, your non-creature being. What is it? Where? Who? Why?
I'm stuck between like having a peaceful life. I'd be a horse somewhere, like in like a field, like maybe in Jeju.
Horse.
Or
yes. Or
a deep sea octopus. Because they're
incredibly
intelligent.
Yes.
In fact, the scientists think that they would be ruling the world if they didn't have such a short lifespan.
Wow.
They have 9 brains. Each one of their tentacles is its own separate brain. So I'm torn between the two: peaceful life in a field or being quite an intelligent creature.
Oh, that's a tough one. But I love both of your answers.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of like being a horse and like running free, you know.
Yeah.
With my mane kind of like flowing in the wind.
With a herd of other horses.
Yes.
Just out there living.
Ooh. That
Living
sounds good.
free, yeah.
Yes. Good answers. Well, we're going to jump into what you have brought for our listeners. What do you have for us?
Well, I've been really happy these days. I'm really getting into the swing of autumn. The heat's finally gone away.
Yes.
Although today is a little bit chilly. And the fall leaves are turning. And one of the things I really love about a fall in Korea is the way that the ginkgo trees look. The yellow is very pretty.
So beautiful. I don't like their fruit, though.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
But it's
Smelly.
a small problem, really, on the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
And it's really nothing important. So I was thinking about the world's problems as I was taking a walk this week.
Okay.
And there's so many of them. So if I had to ask you, what would you think is the world's most pressing issue?
The most pressing.
Yeah, we've got so many problems.
We have
but what's
so many,
the
like wars,
most
climate
pressing
change. I mean, it goes on and on. But we're talking about, you said the world,
the
right?
world, yeah.
So I don't know. I'm caught between war and climate change.
Yeah, I would go with the climate change being the most pressing one. It's one of the most pressing issues. We see the summer lasting way too long this year.
Oh my gosh, it was unbearable.
Yeah. And
Yes.
one of these biggest causes is our use of fossil fuels to generate energy. Now, coal and natural gas are the biggest components of worldwide power production, making up 35% and 22% respectively.
Yes.
This was in 2023. Now, those numbers are dropping with renewable resources like wind and solar increasing to 7% and 5%. This is according to Hannah Ritchie and Pablo Raso from Our World in Data. And one of the biggest hopes for the future energy grid is to change completely to renewable sources. And if we have any hope of reaching the Paris agreements, 2 degrees centigrade above pre-industrial levels, we're going to really need to increase the amount of renewable energy sources in our electric grid dramatically. That's one of the things I really like about Busan is that it's really a city powered by carbon neutral sources.
Yes, I mean, we're definitely trying.
Yes.
It's not 100%.
Not 100%
obviously.
yet.
Yes.
And the number of solar panels I see around the city is increasing dramatically each year. In
That's
fact,
true.
my university, they installed a parking lot, which was kind of but then they installed a dozen solar panels over top of it, which is making good use of the space.
Okay.
So this is in addition to the panels that are installed on almost every single rooftop in the entire campus. So
your school's doing something right.
my school is doing something right.
Yes.
And as good as it is to see these solar panels going up, there is a little bit of a downside to them. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, the efficiency of photovoltaic systems is defined as the percentage of solar energy shining on a PV device that is converted into usable energy. According to the University of Michigan Center for Sustainable Systems, most solar panels have efficiencies of about 17 to 20%, which isn't too far behind coal, which is 37%, but is really far behind gas-fired plants, which are 56% efficient at the low end.
I see.
So another problem is that the cells in solar panels degrade as they age.
Yes.
And the systems are designed to last 20 to 30 years, but every year that efficiency gets a little bit worse. Typically, it's about 0.5% to 0.8% each year, according to the National Renewable Energy Laboratory.
Right, so there are definitely some obstacles, hurdles, things that need to be worked out. But, I'm kind of a glass half full kind of person. I'm optimistic, right? And I am sure that scientists, they're working on those improvements, no?
Yeah, they are. There's so many things that they're doing, from researching ways to improve traditional systems to utilizing ways to use farmland to grow crops to produce energy. But what I was excited about this last week was when I heard about an advancement that was reported in Santiago, Chile last month. That researchers have taken another step in creating a biologically based photovoltaic cell system that is used to make energy.
That sounds so complicated.
Yeah, the system.
What is that?
It's a system that they're known as biophotovoltaic panels.
Okay.
And they use seaweed or other algae to produce energy from sunlight.
Okay. So, how does it work? What does this mean for us?
Yeah, well, to understand how it works, first we need to say that algae and other seaweeds, they look like plants, but they aren't plants.
Yes.
Scientists classify them as protists. Now, if you've studied this group, it's kind of a catch-all for single-cell, multicellular organisms. If any of our listeners want to know more about them, I really recommend looking it up because it's a very fun group of organisms to look at.
Yes.
But the important thing about algae is to know that it grows in situations that many plants can't. So they're hardier. And they also photosynthesize like plants.
Yes.
So they already take in sunlight and use it to oxidize water. And this process releases electrons, and in the right circumstances, you can collect these electrons and use them to power electrical circuits. Now, this isn't the first biophotovoltaic system. That's a mouthful of a word.
Yes.
That was created, but it is the first that has used the larger macroalgae, which are multicellular organisms. Previous systems used microalgae, which is just a single-celled organisms. And according to the project leader, Federico Tasca, macroalgae are more hardy, easier to work with, and easier to harvest.
So it definitely seems like there are going to be benefits to using these kinds of systems, no?
Yeah. One of the biggest benefits is the longevity. With the decrease in efficiency in normal photovoltaic cells and their lifespan, there's a lot of what is known as solar trash, particularly because it's only 30 years. And that needs to be dealt with. Now, most of these can be recycled, but biophotovoltaics have a potential to be self-replicating and have no efficiency decrease, as well as a longer lifespan, stretching perhaps decades longer than the current system.
Yes.
Another benefit is that when sunlight is used by the algae, it creates sugars, and this captures carbon. and releases it back into the atmosphere, releases oxygen back into the atmosphere. So these systems would actually be carbon negative, allowing us to go back and remove some of the carbon that has been released in the past.
Well, the science behind this, is, I mean, in theory, sounds amazing. Question though, Chris. How close are scientists to, in getting this system up and running?
I would love to be able to say that we've got
it's right around the corner.
Around the corner. But unfortunately, the energy efficiency isn't that great yet.
Okay.
But the exciting thing is that it is improving. This system is an improvement over previous systems. The current prototype is showing promise. Tosca says that things like the seaweed system could be used as alternative sources for places where other green energy isn't available.
Sure.
He said it's a good system to feed energy to light bulbs, to light some LEDs or things like that. But things are still only in the development stages, and more research is needed before it can see widespread commercial use.
I see. Well, is this the only way that scientists are using these algae-like, creatures, beings? I don't even know what to call them.
Yeah,
Yes.
Organisms.
Organisms.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
here we go.
No, algae is common all around the world,
Right.
And it grows almost everywhere. Every single waterway you can find it there, and it's still under research. And according to Alejandro Monet, who heads the University of Santiago's Marine Biology Department, she mentioned that she's always said that algae are like treasure chests buried in the sea. They're full of genes and molecules that we still don't know enough about, which could be used even for medicinal purposes one day.
But I love that phrase, treasure chest.
Yeah,
Like,
treasure chests under the sea.
love it. It just gives you an image, right?
Yeah. So that, in addition to biovoltaic systems, algae has also been used to produce biofuels, like biodiesel, things like that. This is done by taking the algae and using the oily parts of the cells and converting them into biodiesels. It's a similar process that they use for making diesel fuel out of vegetable oil.
Sure.
And the benefit of this is that it's carbon neutral depending on the method that's used. This method is promising, but not as promising as photovoltaic systems, since all major oil companies that had been invested in research withdrew their research funds in this area.
Oh, really? I was
Yeah.
going to say, finally, some good news for algae, because every time we talk about algae on our program, we're talking about the algae, along the Nakdong River, not in a positive way.
Not in a positive way,
Right.
yeah.
But the fact that, it can be used for positive purposes.
Yes, turning it into energy and making it so that we can have a better future, a better power future, so that we can reverse some of the the carbon emissions that we've had going on.
Right, the damage that we have been doing
Yes.
to Earth. Wow, so you gave us a lot to think about. I know that, you say like scientists, they're not quite there yet, but, one day, soon, hopefully in our lifetime.
Yep, and
We'll be using more of this.
each time I hear about this, it's another step forward, a little bit
Yes.
more efficient.
All right, well, thank you so much, Chris.
Yes, thank you very much.
And by the way, we have a message that I want to read for you. Leslie saying, I love Chris's voice so much. I would listen to him read the phone book. When's the last time, back in the day, they used to have those thick phone books. We're of a certain
Yes,
age where
yes.
we know what that is, right?
Yeah.
You look up people in the phone book.
I remember the last time I saw one was around 2004.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. So maybe next time we'll have you just read a book
Yes.
for a second. Thank you. Have a wonderful week, Chris.
Have a wonderful one as well.
All right. It's time to wrap up our first hour. We're going to end it on this one because we have a song request from Benny, Timeless by SG Wannabe.
어쩜 살아가다 보면 한 번은 날 찾을지 몰라 난 그 기대 하나로 오늘도 힘겹게 버틴 걸 난 참 기억력도 좋지 않은데 왜 너에 관한 건 그 사소한 추억들까지도 생각이 나는지 너를 잊을 순 없지만 붙잡고 싶지만 이별 앞에서 할 수 있는 건 좋은 기억이라도 남도록 편히 보내주는 일 혼자 남아도 괜찮아 가도 괜찮아 세상에 제일 자신 있는 건 내가 언제나 그래 왔듯이 너를 기다리는 일 I don't wanna say goodbye 어쩜 살아가다 보면 한 번은 날 찾을지 몰라 난 그 기대 하나로 오늘도 힘겹게 버틴걸 부디 하루빨리 좋은 사람과 행복하길 바래 그래야만 내 마음속에서 널 뽐낼 것 같아 너를 잊을 순 없지만 붙잡고 싶지만 이별 앞에서 할 수 있는 건 좋은 기억이라도 남도록 편히 보내주는 일 이젠 멀어져 갔지만 잠시였지만 태어나 좀 자란 듯한 건 내겐 아무리 생각해봐도 너를 사랑했던 일 난 마음을 준대
의사 전용호입니다. 부산은 대한민국의 굳건한 성장 동력으로서 물류, 금융, 영상, 관광, 문화, 디지털 첨단 산업의 중심지인 글로벌 허브 도시로 나아가고 있습니다. 이를 위해 부산 글로벌 도시재단은 부산을 대표하는 도시 외교의 플랫폼을 지향합니다. 세계 평화도시 부산의 브랜드를 강화하는 부산 UN 위크와 부산 글로벌 도시 포럼, 유라시아 도시 외교단, 개발협력 포럼, 그리고 세계 시민 축제는 부산의 소프트 파워의 상징으로 자리매김하고 있습니다. 부산 영어방송도 시민과 함께 영어하기 편한 도시, 세계와 경쟁하며 더불어 살아가는 부산을 만들어가겠습니다. 시민이 행복한 글로벌 허브 도시 부산, 부산 글로벌 도시재단이 함께합니다.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning, Dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded. What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock. This is News Highlights. South Korean intelligence says North sent 3,000 soldiers to Russia. The National Intelligence Service, or NIS, disclosed that it believes about 3,000 North Korean soldiers have been sent to Russia to aid in its war in Ukraine, with about 10,000 soldiers expected to be deployed by December. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that the U.S. has evidence that North Korean troops are in Russia, and the first official confirmation by the U.S. on the matter. Russia, in the meantime, warned Seoul to think about what can happen to its security should it participate in the conflict in Ukraine. Moscow also denied North Korea's troop deployment. Yoon to appoint special inspector upon recommendation from rival parties. President Yoon Suk-yeol will appoint a special inspector to address concerns over First Lady Kim Gun-hee if the ruling and opposition parties can recommend a candidate, his office said yesterday. Previously, ruling party leader Han Dong-hoon called for the president to fill the vacant office of the independent inspector to look at the various allegations surrounding Kim. Under law, the National Assembly is required to recommend 3 candidates with at least 15 years of legal experience from which the president elects or selects one. Number of newborns in August up by 6% on year. The number of babies born in South Korea increased on year for the second consecutive month in August, as the number of weddings also showed one of the highest increases for the same month. Statistics Korea data yesterday showed that 20,098 babies were born in August, up 5.9% from a year earlier, following a 7.9% rise from July. The increase apparently came after more couples held weddings from the second half of 2022 through the first half of 2023, likely an impact from the coronavirus pandemic. Ruling party and government push to stabilize Napa cabbage prices ahead of Kimjang season. The ruling People Power Party and the government agreed to establish measures to stabilize the price of Napa cabbages, radishes, and other kimchi ingredients as traditional kimchi making or Kimjang season approaches. The two sides held a meeting with the National Assembly yesterday and decided to reduce the financial burden on consumers by allocating a budget to support discounts on agricultural and marine products. They also plan to maximize the supply of kimchi ingredients by releasing government reserves while increasing contracted cultivation volume. Kamala Harris says Trump wants unchecked power as campaign heats up. Democratic candidate Kamala Harris has denounced Republican candidate Donald Trump as a fascist who wants unchecked power following allegations from Trump's former chief of staff. John Kelly has said that Trump once told him that Hitler did some good things too. Trump's spokesperson has denied Kelly's claims that Trump said this, calling it absolutely false. The U.S. presidential campaign is heating up as polls show a very close race with less than 2 weeks until Election Day. This was News Highlights. It is now time for 와글와글, as I naturally just casually reach for the script there.
And as our producer tries to lower the camera angle, or
지금 너무 낮췄는데요?
or is she not gonna try to just grow a foot over?
need to shrink?
Yeah, no, because the camera is adjusted to Chris's height.
Yes.
Although he was really nice enough to not adjust the microphone, because sometimes who is it? Who do I blame? I'm just gonna throw all the Andrew, Casey. Who else can I throw under the bus? Who's
Anybody that's taller than you.
Exactly. Well,
Everybody.
so you and like everyone.
Everybody.
They would adjust the mic so it's like at my forehead level. And I'm like, can't talk out of my forehead, guys. Yeah.
The laughter.
The plights of a short person.
Yes. Oh, PD님, when are we going to show the picture later? Can we show it now?
What are we showing?
Okay, so I want to read a message first. The message is from Kim Yerim. Hold on, let me get her message. Hold on, sorry. It's way over here.
As she steps away from the microphone and talks.
I gotta get her message. It's like you guys, if
the
you
veteran
saw,
host.
No, you have to see the setup from this way. There's so much going on right here. Okay, so I'm just saying. 예림 Waver says this. 전 강아지로 태어나고 싶어요. 저희 집 강아지 팔자를 보니 팔자가 좋아 보여서요. 얼마나 팔자가 좋으면 개 팔자가 상팔자라는 말이 있잖아요. So she wants to be not just any dog. She wants to be her dog because her dog has a really good life. And there she is. Aww.
The side eye is fantastic.
I want to be Yerim's dog too now.
What's her name?
I don't know, but look at the bed.
Oh my God. And the feet in the air.
cute.
Yeah.
Yes, so anyhow, that's why I was struggling for that.
Look how clean her hair, like her fur is. That's a well taken care of. Yeah, that dog.
And you can see well-trimmed.
I mean, seriously, she has better hair than I do.
Yes.
All right.
And look at even the floor around her.
Right?
It's clean. You know, like that house and that dog are well taken care of.
That's a dog baby.
Yadim, thank you for giving us permission to share that photo. And by the way, we always get permission from, people who send in the photos, and you're welcome to send in more. First, Waggle story. A school security guard died after the school gate fell on him. And everybody involved, the parties, they are evading responsibility.
Right. So this happened back in June, but the charges are being raised/dropped right now. So what happened is in Cheongju, a security guard working for a high school, he died after the school's heavy steel gate fell on top of him and basically crushed him. So what happened that morning was the security guard was trying to open the school gate, as that is a part of his job. Apparently one side got stuck, and this is according to CCTV footage. And when he tried to push it, the gate, which weighed 160 kilograms, it fell on top of him. He was rushed to the hospital but died some 2 hours later from excessive bleeding. Well, it turns out this little screw or rod, the device that secures the gate to the pillar, it had fallen out, or it was left out, something. Well, the school passed the police passed on 4 of the school officials, including the principal to the prosecution on charges of professional negligence resulting in death, because the law enforcement argument is that the school did not properly conduct safety inspections ever since the gate was installed 25 years ago. So they would just visually inspect the gate, but they didn't really look at every single part. And this, by the way, visual inspection happened once a month.
Oh, so, I mean, Okay, so once again, this is a tragedy. First and foremost, a person died. Apparently, the school, though, is pointing to other reasons or culprits.
Right. So how did that screw or part just fall out?
Yes.
Well, the school presented CCTV footage from 15 minutes before the accident.
Okay.
And in it, you see a group of people, adults, local residents, walking by the school, and they just shake the gate.
So it's not even students.
It's not even students. It's full out adults. And in the footage, you can see the gate kind of sinking down a little bit after that shake or shakes. So the school argues that these residents played a role in damaging the gate, which may have led to the death.
Wow.
The police, however, didn't see the people as criminally liable.
Okay.
That the residents, number one, did not foresee the accident, nor did they have a duty to pay attention to these surroundings or the facilities, which is interesting. And the police reached the conclusion that the responsibility for the upkeep of the school premises, it falls with the school. Which is true, but here is a comment from some netizens saying, well, doesn't that at least would fall within the realm of vandalism? 기물파손.
Yes.
And I mean, does that also mean that we can shake and break every property that we see and not be held criminally liable? So this may be setting a not so great precedence.
This is like the blame game.
Also, a man died.
That's the main point. Somebody died from this. All right, next. We all watch short form videos, do we not? Some of us too much, right? And many of us are concerned about the effect this may be having on our attention span and much more.
And the question is just by how much? Because we are, always concerned about, addiction and our impacts on our attention span from these short form videos. And studies are growing and growing.
Yes.
And I do want to ask our waivers. How much do you watch the shorts or reels? How much? What do you watch? Or what pops? I mean, anything that appears in front of me. But anyways, in South Korea, an average smartphone user watched 1,491 minutes of short form videos per month. Per month. And
do the math. How many hours?
This is, so let's slightly break out our calculator and divide that by 60.
Incognito.
I'm going to let you do that while I read my script.
Yes.
And by the way, these don't include OTT, these don't include streaming. This is just shorts and reels. And the constant exposure to these short form videos can really overstimulate your brain. And that causes, number one, negative effects to our attention span.
Yes.
So
I have the answer.
What's the math?
24.85 hours.
So you watch almost an entire day worth of shorts in a month.
That's a lot.
But that checks out though. Oh, but that kind of, it's surprising, but also at the same time, we do self-reflection, or I do self-reflection.
Yes,
and I'm So let's look at the data. In 2004, we're talking about short forms and attention spans. When there weren't shorts around, because that was 20 years ago, people would focus an average of 2.5 minutes on one screen. On average, maybe reading articles, chatting. In 2012, and this is also before short forms, but this is when streaming was starting to get popular, that dropped to 75 seconds. 2020, 47 seconds, which is roughly a short video. Right. And by the way, that study's from the University of California. And a Microsoft study, another one, showed human attention span on average on phones went down from 20 seconds in 2000 to 8 seconds in 2013.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So this actually has, I think, a negative impact maybe on the behavior of creators.
Right. So we just talked about the impact on consumers.
Yes.
Us, what about the creators? Well, in this vastly saturated ocean of influencers and creators, you got to stand out. So how do you do that? Well, there are many ways of doing that. Some conducive, some a bit absurd, sensational.
Yes.
Well, earlier this month, and this happened in South Korea, there was a report that came in from a bookstore, and in a video, you see another fully grown man jumping on top of a table.
Yes.
And he's screaming at a bookstore.
At a bookstore.
Right. And then he also, in a different video, walks down the aisle of a grocery store with milk and cereal, exaggeratedly falls down, spills everything, cries and then proceeds to kind of wipe it down and says, oh, well, cleanup's over. And he's a TikToker, turns out, with 50,000 followers. And then the thing is, his fans or followers wrote, oh, you're so great. Like, we admire your confidence.
Really?
Yeah. So
that's like the first thought. I had other thoughts that I can't
we
say on air.
definitely had other thoughts. So the thing is, as people get exposed to these sensational contents, they seek more because dopamine. That's how dopamine works. And that drives creators to more absurd behavior.
Right. And that is why, at least from one of our waivers, 태진 waiver says, 아이들도 유튜브 숏컷 좋아해서 강하게 못 보게 해요.
Yeah.
So he does not allow his elementary age students, children, his own kids, they're not allowed to watch.
It's important to be aware.
Yes.
They have developing brains.
Right. All right, up next, some of our listeners may remember the brand Abercrombie and Fitch. So famous, especially if you went to a store in the States. There was a certain, at the doors.
Atmosphere. There's a fog of cologne.
And shirtless models standing by the salespeople at the stores. Well, its former CEO has been arrested amid a sex trafficking investigation.
Right. So we're talking about the former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO, Mike Jeffries. He was arrested on Tuesday local time as a part of a criminal sex trafficking investigation.
Yes.
So the FBI in Brooklyn and the New York Police Department, they announced that Jeffries, his British partner, Matthew Smith, and a third man, Jim Jacobson, ran an international sex trafficking organization that coerced dozens and dozens of men into sexual acts. And often they would promise them a modeling career from his famous clothing store.
The thing is, like I just said, I'm not that shocked because I don't know if they
that
had
brand
the stores.
had problems.
Yeah, in Korea, but not just with...
They did.
The
brands,
staff, they were basically shirtless, right?
Right. So the staff, I believe they were even both males and females, they were cast as models. There was definitely, in my high school and middle school, there were rumors that there was a sizing regulation in the and they were folding clothes. They weren't modeling the clothes, but because they had to wear the clothes.
Yes.
There was definitely, there were rumors.
Issues, yes.
Right. But according to the indictment, prosecutors said 15 victims came forward and accused these three men of running this sex trafficking organization that went from 2008 to 2015. How this happened, the third man also, there may be a trigger warning for sexual assault. The third man, Jacobson, he acted as a recruiter and had the victims go into sexual tryouts, before they were brought to the former Abercrombie CEO and his partner. And then there were sex parties involved with drugs and alcohol at times. And prosecutors alleged that the two spent millions of dollars on this so-called enterprise. By the way, going back to the problem with the store, Jeffries is the person behind that at the top, because Abercrombie and Fitch is actually a very old brand.
Yes.
But after he took over, the store did have that signature trademark, the topless male models.
Yes.
And the stores having that trademark dark, foggy, heavily cologne look. But he was also previously under fire for his ad campaigns making fun of Asians. And saying that he did say that he didn't want fat people wearing his clothes because they're not for them.
Right.
He did resign in 2014, by the way. So he's not affiliated with the brand right now.
All right. Well, we need a palate cleanser of sorts, because that was just so...
I have a bad taste in my mouth.
Yes.
Let's go to some good people doing good work in the world.
Sure.
So, in Korea, the number one way we show that we care about you is feeding you, overfeeding you,
yes,
and
apparently.
making sure that you eat. Well, there's a restaurant, I use that term loosely, but in Wonju, Gangwon province, that's run by a pastor, his family, and his congregation that offers 1,000 won meals to children every week. So it's
really?
less than $1. 1,000won. But then, there are universities that offer 1,000won, 1,000 won breakfast.
But I hear
some do. But they're, and I'm not putting them down, but they're, help me out. How do I say this in a nice way? It makes sense that they would cost 1,000 won. It comes from public funding.
Yes.
But the meals are fancy.
Oh, really?
They are fancy. So this is a part of the church's outreach. How they did this, the pastor and the members just one day went out to a big park that's around the church and approached children who were playing there past dinner time and teens who are playing there past dinner time, says something if they're not going home to eat and offer them, hey, do you want to come and eat? Well, one teen who's a regular there, he joked initially, I thought, they were an organ harvest ring. But then he joked. Right. And he went and they were like, and he obviously is not. So, of course. Well, the dishes are filled with love. They're not only nutritious, delicious, but they're plated in such a pretty way. You
are
can
those
see
photos?
Those are the photos. And there's no way that costs, what is it, like 90 cents with the currency?
That is not $1 worth of food. No.
That's definitely not. The ingredients, themselves.
Amazing.
But the reason he put so much care into it, the pastor says he wants the kids to feel like they're being treated. They're being taken care of, not just fed.
And I love the one on the top with the smiley face.
Yeah, with I think
it's
the
like
potatoes.
But on top.
Like a
That's
tater
so
tot?
cute.
Yeah.
Aww.
Adorable.
So what inspired him to do this?
Well, apparently he too had a rough time as a child. His father's business went down during the Asian financial crisis. So as a teen, he confessed to maybe having smoked and drank when he was under the age.
Okay.
And then his mother took him to volunteer at an orphanage, and that inspired him. And actually his actions inspired others to follow suit, including local restaurant owners, like donating their talents, ingredients. A chef would come and cook for them at least a few times a year. Another restaurateur renovated the space. So the pastor even fostered a child in his own home. Final, heartwarming bit to end on.
Yes.
One child who ate at this restaurant as a high schooler and was taken care of by the pastor came back after he got his first salary because he wanted to take him out to dinner this time around.
Good people,
Yay.
good deeds, good story to end on, because we definitely did not want to end on that other story. So thanks for kind of uplifting us at the very end, and we'll definitely check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Haley.
Have a great day.
And now back to you, the waivers for our updated traffic and weather. It is now 8:21. Here's your traffic update. There is an accident on Pyeonglo going out of the city right by the Mangmi ramp. Please be aware of that area. A cargo truck has broken down on the Dongso overpass going out of the city a little past the Munhyun ramp. So there's extreme backup because of this. Also congestion reported on Chungnyeol-daero from Minam intersection to Manduk Tunnel number 2. Also slow on Jungwang-daero from Yangjong intersection to Songgong three-way intersection as well. Like I said, today is real chilly. 11 degrees right now. Clear skies. The afternoon high's going to go up to 23. So as you can tell, still a big gap between now and later on in the afternoon. It's pretty much chilly across the country with some mountainous areas reporting frost and even icy roads in parts of Gangwon. This was your traffic and weather. And this is We Are Young by Fun featuring Janelle Monáe.
Give me a second, I need to get my story straight. My friends are in the bathroom getting higher than the Empire State. My lover, she is waiting for me just across the bar. My seat's been taken by some sunglasses, asking about a scar. And I know I gave it to you months ago. I know you're trying to forget, but between the drinks and subtle things, the holes in my apologies, you know, I'm trying hard to take it back. So if by the time the bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight. Set No, I know that I'm not all that you got. I guess that I just thought maybe we could find new ways to fall apart. But our friends are back, so let's raise a toast. 'Cause I found someone to carry me home tonight. We are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter than the sun tonight. We are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter than the sun. Counting down tonight. Just counting down tonight. Counting down tonight. Just counting down tonight. The moon is on my side. I have no reason to run. So will someone come and carry me home tonight? The angels never arrive, but I can hear the choir. So will someone come and carry me home tonight? We are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter than the sun tonight. We are young, so let's set the world on fire. We can burn brighter than the sun. So if by the time the bar closes and you feel like falling down, I'll carry you home tonight.
Welcome back, Wavers. So let's get to our text topic one last time. I'm going to read some of your responses to the whole question. If you had to turn into a non-human creature, what would it be? Where? And I added the why. I need to know why. Well, we have 도토리 Waver who says this. 배롱나무가 생명력도 있고 계절별로 분위기가 있어서 조경할 때 좋더라고요. 구름 자하게 깔린 이슬 내린 촉촉한 가을 이른 아침 운문사의 배롱나무. It's like a poem this morning. How lovely is that? So, I'll be honest. I had to run it through a translator because I didn't know what a 배롱나무 was. Now I know. So basically in English, it's like crepe myrtle trees are good for landscaping because they have vitality and that right now seasonal atmosphere. Crepe myrtle trees inside Ummunsa, that temple, on a moist, dewy autumn morning with soft clouds. You're a poet today. I love that message. Also, we have, speaking of trees, Hisuk Waver who says, I wish I was a big tree so I could give shade for living creatures and I could live forever. Ooh, that's a good one as well. I love your choices in non-human creature form. For now, though, we're going to get to living creatures that are so, so popular with our special interview. I'll be back in just a moment. I bow, Lu bow, Fu bow, and on. Yes, all the bows. And from what I understand, translated, they're like treasures, right? Well, today we will be exploring the fascinating world of not just pandas, but panda diplomacy. The U.S. recently received 2 giant pandas from China. Remember, I covered that for Cat's Pick, signaling a potential shift in possible warming of relations between the two nations. So these pandas are not just, a generous gift, but also part of this soft power strategy. We're going to take a deep dive into this role that pandas may play in China's diplomatic efforts, and we'll also learn a bit about the creatures themselves. So joining us is Dr. Judith Shapiro, Director of Graduate Studies in the Department of Environment, Development, and Health at American University, and author of numerous books on China, including China's Environmental Challenges, which is available, by the way, in Korean, and China Goes Green. Hi, welcome to our program.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yes. First of all, Dr. Shapiro, if you can tell us about the history behind this whole concept of panda diplomacy. How does it work?
Well, way back in 1972, when the Nixons were trying to normalize U.S.-China relations, it was a very important signal when the Chinese gave 2 pandas to Pat Nixon. And that was the very beginning of a kind of long history of, certainly at the National Zoo, which is right near where I live, there have almost always been pandas. It's a sort of a signal that U.S.-China friendship is still alive, even at this moment of enormous tension.
Indeed, right now. We hear about it, we talk about it, we read about the tensions between the two superpowers, of course, the U.S. and China, as you say. How has China used this over the years, over the decades, panda diplomacy, to better its relationship, not just with the U.S., but even with South Korea and other countries around the world?
Yeah. In general, we have to remember that pandas belong to China. They're part of China's absolute sovereignty over their own resources. And so if China wants to show goodwill to a country, they may allow that country to rent a panda for a great sum of money for a period of years, but that panda always belongs to China and it will always return to China. And even if a baby is born in the other country, that baby still belongs to China. So China can give and withhold its pandas, which are literally part of soft power in that they look very soft. I've heard they're not very soft, actually, but it's a way of sort of people-to-people diplomacy in that even when the governments are very much at odds, as the American people, and I'm sure the Korean people and people all over the world will remember that China has something very interesting, and that's these wonderful pandas who like to somersault down the hill in the snow, and there's nothing cuter in the entire world. So it's a way of reminding people, hey, China's actually got something that we might be really interested in.
Yes. And, speaking of, you just mentioned it, Professor, about the cost of it. It's not cheap. From what I understand, $1 to $2 million for the rental or leasing fee of the panda itself, plus additional costs. I mean, yes, it is a gift of sorts, but, it comes with a hefty price tag, too.
It sure does. That money is supposed to go towards panda research and conservation. Whether or not that's successful, it's debatable. There's been a kind of an expose recently that indicates that very few of these pandas, if any, are actually returned to the wild. But it's a big moneymaker for our zoos. Even if a zoo does not charge an entrance fee, as our zoo in Washington, D.C. does not charge an entrance fee, but they get a lot of money from people buying stuffed pandas and, panda milkshakes and all of these things. So, I'm expecting, as I said, I live very close to the zoo, and I'm expecting traffic jams for the next 5-10 years right outside my house with all these people trying to get a glimpse of that panda. So that's a big moneymaker for the zoo.
Indeed, for any zoo. And, they're highly popular here in Korea as well. But this recent deal that you spoke about, and, I also covered it a couple days ago in one of my clips. They had a whole brand, with the FedEx plane coming, with a panda plastered. They had police escort to the zoo itself and the build-up to it. But there was also surprise that this deal even came into place because of the tense relationship between the U.S. and China as of late.
Yeah, I think China is doing something very smart. They're signaling to the U.S. people and to the U.S. government that, hey, we're not the ones who are having a fight. You guys are the ones who are having a fight. We would like to be friends. And so that is the soft power projection and manipulation, if you will, of public sentiment. I mean, I was in China this past summer, also sort of the recipient of a soft power effort. And they were whining us and dining us and telling us what can we do to make U.S.-China relations improve. And they were clearly trying to signal that they were desperate for an improvement of relationship. So this is part of it, even though both of our political parties are very hard line on China right now. I don't see any real warming, but the Chinese are saying, hey, don't fight with us. Please, we're not fighting with you.
Yes, yes. And I do want to go back a little bit to the whole cost issue, because many of our listeners are kind of chattering about that right now in our chat room about the cost of it. Like, why is it so expensive? And the fact that it seems that China has some rules in place, some stern rules about, even signing the lease for these pandas. So there are certain conditions that need to be met. Is that true?
Well, sure. I mean, the pandas have to be, assured of good habitat, good care, all of that. I mean, honestly, these kinds of moves may be good for China's relationships with other countries, but for the individual panda, it's hard to argue that this is a good thing, right? They're being put into an airplane and maybe made to live. Our summers in Washington, D.C. are very hot. They're not really a good habitat for the panda. I think there are some pandas in the Middle East that basically live inside of an air-conditioned dome. So this is not really about the well-being of the panda so much as it is about public goodwill and putting the pandas on display.
Indeed. And hence, as you say, there's been some criticism saying that, yes, they're cute. The idea is good. However, that some of it can be problematic, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the New York Times, as I said a moment ago, recently did an expose indicating that pandas are not really being returned to the wild, that it's more of a moneymaker. And I think that for the officials and the zookeepers who are taking care of all of those pandas back in Chengdu in the panda breeding station, there's enormous pressure on them to produce more offspring to somehow, contribute to the genetic diversity and the genetic stock available. But, pandas don't breed well. It takes them a long time to breed well. They eat bamboo, and the bamboo goes into a die-off every once in a while.
Yes.
I mean, this is an adorable creature that is very much endangered still, even though it's not on the extremely endangered list anymore, but it's very, very threatened. And as I said, it only exists in China. It exists nowhere else in the world.
And so going back to that New York Times expose, that article on the kind of the darker side of panda diplomacy, Professor, the whole idea of like this artificial insemination, I mean, as lay people, we do understand that, like the female, panda bears, they have difficulty maybe procreating on their own. There's like a small window, from what I understand, where they may naturally actually get pregnant. But the ethical concerns that have been raised from these aggressive artificial, breeding, insemination of pandas, is this not kind of going against the grain of why we have the pandas here on loan in the first place?
Well, remember, I'm not a biologist, but I understand that artificial insemination of endangered species is a pretty standard in the industry, if you will. I've recently read an article about the artificial insemination of one of the last endangered rhinoceroses to exist on the earth. So, as I said earlier, I think it's the pressure on the local officials that may lead them to sometimes take some extreme measures. But I don't think that's national policy. I think that's more of a local kind of abuse because of pressure to produce offspring. They have actually been very clever at figuring out ways. Many pandas have two babies, but the mother panda usually can't take care of both. So one of them is usually left to die. But in these breeding stations, they circulate them between an incubator and the mother never really realizes that she's constantly getting like a switch off. And that way, both babies survive. And, this is actually a testament to good science, that they've really managed to figure out how to do this.
And so with this latest loan of the two pandas to the U.S., what do you think that says about the current relationship between the U.S. and China? I know we touched upon it, the fact that, things have been a little tense as of late. But do you think that this will really improve the diplomacy, the diplomatic efforts between the two sides?
I don't think that this is going to change at the macro level, but it is going to change at the people-to-people level because, again, the American people right now are kind of being messaged that China's all bad. And when all of those visitors go to the zoo and they see these adorable pandas, maybe then some curiosity about, well, maybe it'd be interesting to go to China. Maybe it'd be interesting to learn Chinese. Maybe it'd be interesting to find out what's good about China. And that's what they want. They want to see the students return. They want to see the scholars return. They want to see a scientific exchange return. I mean, we're working together quite a lot on climate change, but that's happening at the state level, particularly the state of California has a very active kind of climate sort of exchange and sort of think tank relationship with China. But we've got a ways to go at the Washington, D.C. level. And so it's not an accident that the National Zoo right here, I mean, just you can walk to the White House from the Panda House, right? So that's, that's not an accident, that they're reminding the government of the U.S., whether it ends up being Trump or Harris, and I certainly hope it's Harris. Hey, viewers, that's what I hope. I hope it's Harris. I think Trump would be very dangerous. But, they're reminding Harris and her Vice President Walz, who actually knows China quite well and is, realistic and critical, but also, knows that it's better to know your competitor from within rather than from without,
Yes.
So, I think it's a good sign.
Well, we're going to end it on that note, but thank you so much for sharing your expertise on the soft power of panda diplomacy with our listeners today. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
This was Dr. Judith Shapiro. We talked about panda diplomacy because it is indeed a part of the relationship between not just the U.S. and China, but China with other countries as well. And that was, of course, the personal opinion of the professor regarding the politics in America. This was your special interview.
Get your local up-to-date news from Korea and abroad right here on Morning Wave in Busan with Catherine. Stay tuned.
It is now time for City Insights. We have the lovely Haeyeon in the studio. Oh my goodness.
Hi.
I love it.
I'm in
The
autumn
fall-
plaid glory.
You are.
Yeah.
Love it. I sincerely.
Well, it really beams out on camera.
No, it's fantastic. I love it.
Thank you.
As soon as you walked in the door, I was just like, whoa, I love it. I'm always in my drab black.
No, you always look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I want to squeeze this in. If you have no choice, if you had to turn into a non-human creature.
So I was listening.
Yes.
On my way in.
Uh-huh.
So this is more towards my retirement age. This is what I want to be.
Yes.
I want to be a crested gecko. So it's also known as the eyelash gecko. It's this type of lizard.
Ooh.
They have this spiky kind of thing above their eyes. It resembles eyelashes.
Ooh.
I've always had very very
PDD,
short
we
eyelashes.
need a photo. Find
in my
the
life.
eyelash gecko.
So I want to be an eyelash gecko living inside a beautiful, beautiful terrarium at my niece's house.
At your niece's house? That was the kicker.
I want to see how she grows up, and at a place that's preferably that has a good view of a huge TV.
In your niece's house with a view of a big TV.
I want to see what her life is like.
But you still want to
get some good content in.
A gecko. So I looked it up. And so a gecko is like a friend of 도마뱀 친구예요.
Yeah.
I'll just say.
And crested gecko, they have these
crested
cute
gecko.
little eyelashes.
Oh, so specific.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're ready for City Insights.
Okay, so
yes.
In Bukgu District, there's been a new project that's been very successful to help the disability community get integrated and mix in with the society, and it's called the Dog Walker Project. So it was started by the Bukgu Welfare Center for People with Disabilities, or the Busan Bukgu 장애인 복지관, and I got to talk to the center director, Mr. Lee Jang-ho, about this.
You had me a dog walker, a dog. So what is this?
Because it's not common to see dog walkers in Korea. But, as we know, the pet industry has been booming. So the center wanted to find a way to help people who have developmental disabilities enter this growing industry because often they have challenges with getting jobs. And then this dog walker project was born. So what they do is they train individuals with developmental disabilities to walk dogs. They have a proper training period. And then this service is offered for free to people in the community who are either too busy to walk the dogs or they themselves have mobility, disability issues to walk their dogs.
Wow, this is like a win-win-win situation.
So he says that it's been a huge hit with the local residents, and it's really helped the participants improve their social skills, but also getting a job opportunity, and also good for the dogs.
That's what I said. That was like win-win-win. And so they have to have this somewhere else because it's like amazing everywhere.
I want to do this, right? So after a year of preparation, the Dog Walker Project officially launched as a paid employment opportunity from earlier this year. And last year, they trained 8 people who have developmental disabilities, and now 6 of them are actively working, having completed over 400 dog walking sessions so far.
Yes.
So, and the program is growing with 8 new certified walkers, and more people are interested to be trained.
Yeah. So what's the feedback been like? Because like I said, to me, I was just like, this is an amazing idea.
Yeah, I would sign up for it in a heartbeat. Mr. Lee Jang-ho said that the Dog Walker Project has been a real game changer for the participants who are walking the dogs. First of all, it helps them boost their sense of responsibility and accomplishment and develop stronger work ethics. In fact, all of the participants have made significant progress in handling job-related tasks and meeting just general job requirements.
I see.
Now, let's take a listen to him talk about what the response is like from the dog owners who received this service. Let's take a listen.
네, 주로 보장구를 활용하시거나 보행이 자유롭지 않은 어르신이나 장애인들 아니면 취업으로 집을 오래 비우는 일이 잦은 1인 가구의 서비스 신청 비율이 높습니다. 그리고 좀 특이한 사례인데요. 애견 카페를 가보시면 보통 상주견들이 있지 않습니까? 한 명의 직원이 동시에 여러 마리의 상주견들을 산책시키기가 어렵기 때문에 애견 카페에서도 주기적으로 서비스를 이용하고 계십니다. 처음에는 반려견 보호자의 입장에서 가족과 같은 반려견을 발달 장애인에게 맡긴다는 것에 우려를 표하시는 분들도 많았습니다. 서비스는 정기적으로 받고 싶지만 걱정이 되니까 산책을 나갈 때 동행하며 지켜보시는 분들도 있었는데요. 다들 한 번 보시고는 모두 같은 반응을 보이셨습니다. 산책 잘하시네요 하시면서 그 이후로는 산책에 동행하지 않고 저희 도그워커들을 믿고 맡겨주고 계십니다.
Yeah, so he says that most requests for the dog walking service comes from senior citizens or people with disabilities or families that are just simply too busy. Also, interestingly, pet cafes also use this service to help walk the multiple dogs that are residential dogs.
Oh,
there.
yes, yes.
Initially, he says some of the pet owners were a bit hesitant, but after seeing the walkers in action, they quickly felt at ease. And now so many people are reporting high satisfaction, noticing their dogs becoming more social, friendly, and even ones who had issues with excessive barking have become calmer. And I imagine the companionship between the dog walker and the dogs too. That's also great for the folks who have the developmental disabilities.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So love the idea once again.
Yes, love it. Now, shall we move on to the second insight? So we've been hearing in the news about the two new great venues that are highly anticipated in Busan. The Busan Concert Hall that's expected to open next year, and the Busan Opera House coming up in 2027.
Yes.
And the city-affiliated organization that's managing these two venues is called Classic Busan. I got to sit down with the newly appointed CEO of Classic Busan, Ms. Bang Mingjung. Now, she's an expert in performance planning and management, and she's worked for over 30 years at the 예술의 전당, the Seoul Arts Center, so coming in with a lot of expertise.
Yes. So I hear that the first major project under Classic Busan is the Busan ballet season.
Yeah, so listen up, ballet fans out there.
Yes.
The 2024 Busan ballet season is their incubation project that's co-organized with the Busan Cinema Center.
Okay.
They're going to feature 4 performances at the Haneulyeon Theater from November 15th to 17th, and followed by a special ballet concert that comes with commentary on December 3rd and 4th.
Yes.
Also at the Busan Cinema Center. She said that each season, for the Busan Ballet season, they bring in new project-based dancers with the project led by the renowned ballerina Kim Ju-won, who's actually a Busan native and a former principal dancer with the Korean National Ballet. And she also graduated from the Bolshoi Ballet Academy.
Oh, yes, indeed.
So
I'm sure people are excited. Anticipation going on for Busan Concert Hall. That's opening, you said, next year?
That's right. The Busan Concert Hall will be the first vineyard-style auditorium.
Vineyard
so, you know what that is? It's what it is it's when the auditorium has the seating surrounding the stage and terraces. So kind of looking like the rows of a vineyard.
I see.
So it allows the audience to be closer to the performers. And it's this way, it's almost like the hall itself becomes this huge musical instrument. Yeah. And also, the Busan Concert Hall is the first venue outside of the capital to feature a pipe organ.
A pipe organ?
That's right. So, and meanwhile, the opera house will be designed for opera and ballet that has flexible stages. So both are expected to become a landmark.
So exciting.
Yeah. So in the next clip, let's listen to Ms. Bang Minjung give us an update on the progress that the Busan Concert Hall has made so far.
지난 8월에 이미 이제 건축은 마무리가 되었고요. 현재는 그 말씀드린 파이프 오르간이 그 한국에 도착해서 그 설치되기를 기다리고 있는데 저희 파이프 오르간은 그 프라이브러거라는 그 독일에서 제작돼서 지금 국내에 반입될 예정입니다. 그래서 11월부터 작업을 시작하면 내년 1월까지 이제 현장에서 조립을 하고 그 보이싱 과정을 통해서 저희가 2월 정도에 그 준비가 되면 이제 개관 전까지 여러 차례 시범 운영을 통해서 그 음향이라든지 시설 서비스 부분을 테스트할 예정이고요. 이제 6월에 그랜드 오프닝을 계획하고 있습니다.
All right. So they're set to install the pipe organ coming up in January, which means that they're nearing the end of constructing all the major facilities.
Sure.
And the main building was finished back in August. And right now they're testing the acoustics, equipment, and lighting. So the pipe organ, this is a big deal. It was made at the company Freiberger in Germany. And it's on track to arrive in Korea soon, very soon. It's going to be assembled. And once they finish tuning it, they'll have all the major installations done. And before the official opening next June, they're going to run several trial operations to sort out the kinks and make sure that everything runs smoothly.
Right.
It's
and
on track.
I was trying to imagine like the pipe organs. Like when we heard like anything related to pipe organs, I mean, we think of like church or cathedral, like, but to have it in a non-religious, like, outside venue. Oh my gosh.
I think it's going to be gorgeous.
Yes.
And, we already have great venues like the Busan Cultural Center, but their goal is to really take things up a notch and make these two places the city's dedicated venue for classical music.
Yes.
Yeah.
So excited about this. Anything else that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, I think they're also working on not just featuring like existing works of operas or ballets, but creating original works. And by doing that, hiring and nurturing the professional talent and artists in our local communities. So,
love it.
Yeah, very exciting.
Two amazing city insights. So thank you for bringing them to our attention.
Yeah.
And of course, we will talk to you soon. Thank
All
you,
right.
Han.
See y'all next week. Oh, actually, I think PD님 has the pictures.
Oh,
of
yes.
This is what I want to turn into.
Look at the
crested
eyelashes,
geckos.
or what looks like eyelashes.
Yeah, and if you look at their feet,
yes,
they're very adorable. They're usually lizards you imagine having kind of like pointy little fingers.
Yes.
But they're a little round. And when you actually, I put one on my hand.
What does it feel like?
It feels like a nicely chilled 찹쌀떡.
Aww.
Just sitting on your palm.
The mini 찹쌀떡. Okay, I couldn't wrap my mind around it, but now that I'm looking at the crested
Aren't
gecko.
they pretty?
They are. They're really
Yeah.
pretty. I love the eyelashes. Well,
Yeah.
on that happy note, we bid you adieu. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
And we're going to end it on that happy note. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. And of course, join us again tomorrow. This is misread by Kings of Convenience. So have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.
Do not expect me to wrap it up and keep it there. The observation I'm doing could easily be understood. A cynical demeanor, but one of us misread. What do you know? It happened again. Friend is not a means you utilize to get somewhere. Somehow didn't notice friendship is an end. What do you know? It happened again. Told me all throughout history the loneliest people were the ones who always spoke the truth, the ones who made a difference by withstanding indifference. I guess it's up to me now. Should I take that risk or just smile? What do you know?
BEFM, Busan